and you were in the fish tank in the nursery, you were swimming along, and that first day you looked down and went, oh, feet, yay! You guys remember that? You don't remember that? Well, you remember, you were pretty young then, but you do remember when you first stuck your head up out of the water, your gills closed up, and you went, Mama! You guys do remember that, right? When you first transformed from a water-breathing creature to an air-breathing creature. No? You guys don't remember that?
No.
Why not?
We were monkey.
You were monkey, yeah. Wait a minute. Do you mean that you can't transform from a water-breathing creature to an air-breathing creature? You guys can't do that?
Oh.
You gotta get engaged. You guys look way too serious. All right, good. Put that one. You still gotta work on. Okay. So for the unfreezable frog, transforming like that, going from a tadpole to a frog, that's boring. That's not her superpower. Her superpower comes in the winter, and this laser beam is not shooting today. And of course, we are talking about the amazing wood frog. In the wintertime, as it starts to cool down, we see a lot fewer frogs, don't we? And guys, this is the only animal that will be stuck in a tank. The rest of them we're going to be able to see much better. So, the wood frog, as it starts to get later in the year, as it starts to cool off, she starts to slow down. And the other frogs start to get nervous because they know winter is coming. And when winter comes, the frogs need to get out of here. You guys, you don't see frogs ice skating, do you? Sledding? No? No, of course not. When it gets very cold, the frogs slow way down. And most of them will dive into the bottom of the pond, they'll dig down into the mud, and they'll disappear to the bottom of the pond until springtime. Because they know if they stay up on land, if they stay too close to the surface, it's going to get to freezing. And when a frog is outside in freezing weather, the frog freezes. Is that good for you to freeze solid? No? Yeah, you don't want to do that. It's very bad for you to freeze. In fact, you can only do it once. Nobody, because you die if you freeze. Unless you have the incredible superpower of the amazing wood frog. In the wintertime, when the rest of those frogs dive down into the bottom of the pond, the wood frog just tucks in under the leaves. And it gets colder, and it gets colder. The temperatures drop below freezing, and the wood frog freezes solid. And if we went out there in December, we dug around in the woods, and we found a little frozen wood frog out there, it really would be like a little frogsicle. This little frog, you'd bring it home and be like, Mom, look, I found a dead frog frozen in the ice. But if you left her there on your kitchen table, which Mom wouldn't mind a bit, right? If you left that frog on the kitchen table, she'd start to thaw out. She'd stretch out and she'd start hopping around the kitchen. Your brother did that, and that's awesome. That's so cool. And then you could catch that frog, throw it in the freezer, and do it all over again. Yeah, it would not be a nice thing to do to the frog. Yeah. But it's an amazing thing that very few animals can do. There is not a frog in all of Africa that can do this trick. There's not one rainforest amphibian that can freeze and survive. If you want to find one, find the wood frog. If you want to find 3 of them, spend a little more time outside, because we have 3 frogs that can do this. The gray tree frog can do it, and the spring peeper can do it too. They're like an unfreezable frog team, kind of like the Avengers. Getting out there and not freezing to death every single winter. Pretty incredible power, isn't it? You were hoping for laser beams, though, weren't you? No, okay, cool, good. Yeah. The frogs that can do this are pretty unique. And the fact that we have 3 of them here in Vermont is just kind of a good indicator that we have some cool stuff here. And a lot of the things we're very familiar with, but don't really notice how amazing they really are. We all know what this comes from, right? A moose, you got it. What is it, this? An antler, yeah, thank you for saying antler. Sometimes folks will say horns. And horns and antlers are actually really different. They look different, right? A horn is kind of like a spike. You know, it doesn't have all these branchy things. But there's a bigger difference. Anybody know what it is? much bigger difference than just the way they look. Here's a hint. The moose who grew this antler might still be alive. Here's the tricky thing about antlers. What makes an antler different from a horn is every winter, the antlers fall off. We found this one laying in the snow. Yeah, thinking about that for a second. So in the wintertime, moose don't have antlers, neither do deer. They fall off. And then in the spring, they start to grow new ones. By fall, they've grown them, they've hardened up, and they have good solid antlers to run around and show off with. Because that's really what antlers are for. Antlers are for showing off. They walk out there and the bull moose is like, hello ladies, look at my big antlers. And this little guy, this is the moose too. He runs out there and goes, hello ladies, look at my big antlers. Right away, all the other moose can tell who's the healthiest, strongest, most mature moose. It probably isn't fair to pick on this little guy, because this was probably his first antler. He runs out in the field, hey, look at my antlers. And they're like, oh, you're just a little kid. You're not going to be a great dad. Because that's what the antlers are doing. They're telling those other moose, I'm the biggest, I'm the strongest, I'm the healthiest, I will be the best dad. So far as moose are good dads. But the crazy thing about that, if you really think about it, he grows this in just a few months. One summertime, he grows this thing. Again, nobody's looking impressed. Can you guys do that? It is the fastest growing tissue of any adult mammal. And it's growing right out there, right now. It's pretty amazing stuff. Let's see something alive. Now we've mimicked the American child. And our next animal today. So, something a little more dramatic. When we're putting this program together, we kind of put together a special program for the theme, for the heroes theme. And some of the animals were tough. What are we going to talk about with Captain Invisible? Because sure, the camouflage power is pretty amazing. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But owls can do a lot of things. Owls have a lot of pretty incredible abilities. Now, I know some of the schools around here study owls. Have any of you guys ever studied owls? No? This guy has, yeah? Do anybody know anything about owls? What's an owl's superpower? Anybody know? Wildcats kids, huh? What? Yeah, an owl can turn its head around backwards, no problem. If it really wants to, actually, it can go even further. So, if you were an owl, you could start looking straight ahead, turn your head to the left, go all the way around the back, and put your chin on your right shoulder. Go ahead. Try it. We're pretty good if we can get to the first shoulder. Yeah, that little guy just went out the back door. Okay, you're good.
He'll be back.
All right. As long as you know. Turning that head is pretty amazing, and as you watch him, he'll do it eventually. He'll turn around backwards. There's a reason they do that, though. They actually kind of have to do it. If an owl wants to look over there, he has to turn his head over there. Anyone know why? There's a hint right in the middle of his face. His eyes. Owls have enormous eyes. His eyes are so big they outweigh his brain. We're actually not allowed to let you pet the butt. This is what he feels like. This is what I got, man. Give you an idea. If this young lady who just walked in was an owl, her eyes will be the size of oranges. Enormous eyeballs. Those big old eyes give the owl great night vision. So this bird can see in the dark well enough to fly through the woods by starlight without hitting anything, which is a pretty neat trick. So night vision, that's a pretty cool owl superpower. Anything else? What are you guys noticing as you feel these wings? As you feel this wing, how does it feel? Soft, yeah. The wing feels very, very soft. Good. And that does something for the eye, too. Yeah. You got it. This young lady knows. The soft feathers on an owl give it the ability to fly silently. When a bird flaps its wings, we've all heard that, right? Like a pigeon flies off the sidewalk, or a chickadee is a bird or something like that. They sound like little helicopters, right? Most of what we're hearing, most of that sound, are the feathers banging together. Most birds have hard feathers. You kind of want hard feathers in your bird, because it's like having a hard canoe paddle. It helps you fly fast. It helps you steer. But it's also noisy. The soft feathers on an owl, when they bang together, it's very, very quiet. When the owl sets its wings and glides, a little screech owl like this could land on your head. You wouldn't know it was going to do that until you felt it land on your head. Absolutely silent. Incredible superpower. Now, there's a problem with that superpower, though. Soft, floppy feathers. Why might that be a problem? Think of the room in the boat.
They're too soft for the flap.
Yeah, they're too soft. You can flap them, but you're not going to go very fast. You're not going to go very far. Owls are slow flyers. So if you're a small owl like the screech owl, you may be the most terrifying thing a mouse can ever imagine after dark. But when the lights come on, if this owl's out hunting during the day, a little mouse is sitting there, he's munching on some seeds. Hey, check it out. There's an owl coming. He's coming right at us. We should hide, don't you think? You know, it's hard for that owl to catch something during the day because he's pretty slow. And then bigger things have an easy time catching him. So that's where that owl's camouflage superpower comes into play. Take a look at this bird. He's bark colored. I actually have an awesome piece of bark that he blends into perfectly at a library in Franklin. That's where I was when I last had that piece of bark. I'll get another one eventually. We'll have to imagine today. Screech owls do live around here, though. We can find them in the southeastern portions of Vermont, especially Connecticut River Valley. So you guys could very possibly have screech owls in your backyards. Hard to tell unless you hear them. And we often think they should make a horrible scream, right? With a name like a screech owl. They have two loud calls you're likely to hear. One of them sounds like a horse whinnying, and the other one they call it a trill. It sort of sounds like kind of like that. No horrible screams. Then the whinny of a horse is kind of weird, though. You think there's a horse up in a tree. Screech owls, though, like all the owls, amazing predators, cool animals to see around. And, you know, I'm talking here, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to keep doing it. Sorry. But it doesn't have to be the only one talking. If you guys have any questions or anything, don't be shy. You know, let me know. There's one. Wildcrats, go. Probably different kind of owl. Yeah. Aha, there we go. Do all owls have super hearing? I like the way you phrase that. Super. Yeah. Some owls have more super hearing than others. Now, if this screech owl wanted to, he could listen to our heartbeat. This little guy coming through the door, this owl could listen, hear his heartbeat from across the room. Some owls, but not the screech owl, could close their eyes and tell you where he was by the sound of his heart. Some owls have pricked ears, and that allows them to triangulate a sound to, more importantly, hearing our hearts beating, hear a little mouse digging under the snow well enough to pinpoint it, dive in there and grab it. The screech owl, great hearing, but his ears are straight across. It's harder for him to pinpoint a sound than it is some of our other owls. We have some brochures back there. The owl on the cover of the brochure is a barred owl, and they are experts at hunting with their ears, using their hearing to catch something they can't see. So, I'm dropping feathers on me here. Thank you for asking that question. Very landed.
Well, now it's wildcrats inspired.
Wildcrats inspired, yeah. So you guys, let's see if we can get your attention. There we go. What's that?
I don't have every episode.
No, absolutely. They're good stuff, too. And for those of you who don't know what Wildcrats is, kid or adult, if you like nature shows at all, watch Wildcrats. Those guys, every show they've ever done, they've done a bunch of them. top-notch stuff. Fantastic stuff.
And PBS.
Yeah. So, before we bring out the next animal, the ultimate sun snake. With incredible superpowers you will not believe, some of you already are getting a little bit nervous, maybe. Because for a long time we thought snakes were bad guys. We thought snakes were super villains. Now we know better, but still some of us are kind of nervous about it. Is anyone here a little bit nervous about meeting a snake today? A couple people? Good. So if we have 3 or 4 admit it, there's probably 3 or 4 more who won't admit it. That's okay. That's all right. A lot of people are nervous about snakes. Absolutely. And there's lots of different reasons for that. Personally, I think one reason we're scared of snakes is that we don't meet a lot of real snakes. The snakes we know from stories, books and movies, things like that. Can you guys think of a story with a snake in it? And movies count. Can you think of one? Jungle Book's a good one. Yeah. Harry Potter, sure. There's a bunch of now. Are the snakes the good guys in any of the stories you're thinking of?
No, it's just snakes on a plane. They're not.
Oh yeah. If you want to see a bunch of things snakes really cannot do? Watch Snakes on a Plane. The neat thing was Jungle Book. Whoever said Jungle Book, were you thinking of the story, the book, or the movie? The book. In the book, the python's a good guy. He helps save people. How about in the movie? Crazy eye tricks, right? Most of our stories with snakes, they're bad guys. And so they kind of teach us they're bad guys. In real life, especially a good-sized snake here in Vermont, like a rat snake, it's hard to find better good guys when it comes to animals out there. So, there are, of course, other reasons people are nervous about snakes. I see a couple nervous faces out there. What are some other reasons we might be a little nervous about this guy? Why else would we think maybe he's a bad guy? Go ahead. You're the only hand up. What do you got?
You go up your shirt.
He could go up your shirt, and that would be weird.
And bite you.
And then bite you. You want to know the awesome thing about getting bit by a snake? Snakes can't bite hard. They have very weak jaws. They have teeny tiny little teeth. If this snake bit me on the ear as hard as he could, and he latched right on there, and he was like, and we pulled him off my ear, I'd have a little horseshoe of pinpricks, is all I have.
And he's going up your shirt for warmth.
Right, yeah, he goes for the warmth in the shirt, yeah. Can you, little dude, can you stay over on that side? Just don't want you accidentally unplugging anything. So, where were we? Oh yeah, getting bit by a snake. Snakes can't chew. They can't take a bite out of anything. Now, they're kind of famous for that in the way they eat, right? How do snakes eat their food? Yeah, they eat it whole. They swallow it in one big gulp. That's not because they're lazy or have bad table manners. They don't have any choice. If you don't slice up a snake's birthday cake for him, he has to be able to swallow the whole thing at once. For most snakes, that means they can swallow something about 4 times the size of their head, which kind of has to do with the weak bite. Instead of having a good solid hinge like this beaver has, you know, beaver has muscles and a good hinge there, he can chew through a tree. The snake's jaw is kind of held together with rubber bands, ligaments. So back here it stretches right out, the chin opens right out. Again, in the side, they'll separate and get longer. The whole top of his head will stretch and flex and expand. And because his head is so flexy, he doesn't have any strength in his bite. So getting bit, though, sometimes can be bad, right? With the right or wrong snake, getting bit can be a real problem. What kind of snakes are those?
Venomous.
Venomous snakes. Snakes with the big fangs, right? Now, here in North America, and it's important, this only works here. When you go on vacation in South America or Australia or whatever, forget what I'm about to say. It doesn't work there. But here, our venomous snakes are vipers. That means they have great big heads. Big diamond or triangle-shaped heads. If you see a snake with a big head crawling around out there, don't kiss that one. Give him some room. That's potentially a dangerous snake. If you see a snake with a little head, like this one, probably don't kiss that one either. But that is a snake that's not going to be able to hurt you, even if it wants to. Now, I see some of us are still a little nervous about this snake. Dude, is he a venomous snake though? It's an American snake, it's a Vermont snake. No, little head. There is one small-headed venomous snake. If you go down to Florida or Texas, way down south, there's... Oh, not the pygmy rattler. Pygmy rattlesnake, big head. Yeah.
Really?
For the size of the snake. Oh, yeah.
Coral.
Coral, there you go. The coral snake has a little head. But just like a rattlesnake has a rattle, so it can rattle that tail, to tell you, watch out, venomous snake, step aside, right? It wants you to know there's a venomous snake there. The coral snake is brightly colored for the same reason. She has bright red, yellow, and black rings around her body. It's not like other snakes kind of hide, right? And you're walking along, and you get really close, and all of a sudden the snake decides, okay, this hiding thing isn't working, I'm getting out of here, and you're like, whoa, snake, right? Does that ever happen to anybody?
No.
They hide, they run. Right under our feet. It's a little scary. Coral snake doesn't do that. If you flip over a rock that has a coral snake under it, she's like, whoa, coral snake, here I am. She wants you to see it, so you don't mess with it. So, I'm going to bring the rat snake around, and we're going to talk about some of his superpowers. If you are a little nervous, let me know, and I'll take the head end, I'll put it over here where it's safe, and you can pet this end if you want. This snake has been working with kids for quite a few years, and adults, and he's never bit anyone. So there's that. You want to pet it?
Yeah.
What about a pit viper?
A pit viper, yeah, that would be that's one of the vipers. So they'd have a great big head on them. Like our rattlesnakes are all pit vipers. Yeah.
What's the biggest snake you've seen?
The biggest snake I've seen? You mean like a wild snake? Or like in a zoo or something? I've seen 20-foot plus pythons. Yeah, but captive. In Vermont, or actually in New Hampshire, I saw a black rat snake that was a little bit bigger than this one. That's the biggest wild snake I've ever messed with.
I was down in Alligator Kingdom down in Myrtle Beach,
Oh, sure, yeah.
and they have a whole bunch of snakes and rodents. Python,
Yeah, some of the big pythons.
albino.
Oh, neat. Yeah.
Albino snakes. And he was about that big around.
Yeah, they get huge, and some of those snakes will get over 30 feet long. Oh, we got the head way over here. It just feels like an expensive pair of shoes.
Were snakes, black lumberjack.
Yeah. This lady's talking about in Africa, there's the black mambas, and they're a venomous snake that believes the best defense is good offense. You get too close, they'll chase you, which is scary. Luckily, we don't have any snakes like that in North America. Our most dangerous venomous snakes still are not going to chase you.
No, the water moccasins do too.
Well, the water moccasins have a problem because they'll sit up in the trees and they're like, we're getting some sun, we're having a nice day. You'll come by in your boat and they feel safer in the water, so they dive in the water and then in your boat. I got a friend of mine who says from Florida had that happen. He shot a bunch of holes in the bottom of his boat. Apparently, it happens a lot. So. The snake, we're talking about snakes and stuff. Now, still, we're talking about kind of why they're not dangerous, but why would I say this snake is a good guy? What do you think a black rat snake does?
Eat rats.
Eats rats. Yeah. Eats rats and mice. This is a rodent specialist. He loves to eat rodents. And what do you think rodents like to eat when there are no cheese bushes around? Seeds. Some of them snakes, sure. What about, like, say, rats on the farm? Sure you can. What's a rat in your garden going to eat? Yeah, your vegetables, right? What's a rat in your cereal drawer going to eat? Your cereal, yeah. You know what a rat snake's going to eat in your garden? Rats. Now, if you have a farm with chickens on it, you're not going to love this snake so much. Because this snake will eat eggs. Our Vermont milk snake we also have that gets almost this big. They're another rodent eater who doesn't eat eggs, so they're a little more fun to have on the chicken farm. Yeah, corn snakes further south, but yeah, the same kind of deal. They're good, so they get easily this big. And they're rodent eaters. The corn snake is actually a neat snake. It got its name because the settlers noticed that the Native Americans would throw corn snakes, or there's these snakes, they'd throw them in the cornfield. So the settlers named them cornfield snakes. Why do you think they'd throw those snakes? Oh, she was talking on the phone. Why do you think you'd want to throw a snake in the cornfield? Yeah, guerrilla rodents, right? They do. Way back then. Well, yeah, you know, the mouse goes in the hole in the wall, like in the Tom and Jerry cartoon, he's in there. Oh, see a cat. The snake's there.
Should we get a snake? No.
Let it loose in your house. Yeah.
How about where the name milk snake came from?
Oh yeah, the milk snake's a good one too. Some of you may actually know the milk snake is the checkered adder, which is the same snake, totally harmless.
Huge.
Completely harmless. Yeah, they can get pretty big. They got the name checkered adder first because the settlers thought they looked like the adder from Europe, the venomous snake. They are not venomous at all. Then they get the name milk snake because people noticed they were hanging out in the dairy barns. They, oh, well, snakes are evil, right? So they must be there to steal the milk, right? Logic, snakes are bad, and the dairy, they must be stealing milk. No? You don't think that was true? What do you think they were doing in the barn?
Probably going to war.
What, warmth? Sure. And what else? Eating the mice. Mice in a dairy barn are eating the food you want to feed the cows. Those snakes were in there eating those mice. When I was a kid, my grandfather had a farm up in Reading, and he was terrified of snakes. When I was little, if you saw a snake, you were supposed to get someone, not him, but someone else to come kill it. He didn't want it to come kill it. By the time I was in college, so it's quite a few years had passed, he had changed his attitude. He still didn't want anything to do with the snake, but if you found it, you were supposed to grab it and throw it in the barn. That was where you were supposed to put the snakes. Because he had learned what they did, what they really do. Super helpful critters with some incredible superpowers. You may have noticed this snake is sticking his tongue out a lot.
He's tasting the air.
He's tasting the air. That's kind of how he smells. You know, when we smell, we'll go, and we suck all that air up into our nose, right? He sticks his tongue out into the air. He grabs the same little smell particles we were going to suck up in our nose, pulls them back into his mouth. He has two little holes in the roof of his mouth, and you'll notice there's two sides to his tongue, right? His tongue's shaped like a Y. He sticks it up in those little holes. There's nerves in there, kind of like in your nose. They do this whole little kind of thing to figure out all the smells out here. Now here's where it gets to be a superpower. Because any dog can do that, right? He sticks his tongue out, pretends it's a snake tongue. And let's say, oh, we'll do it easy. What's your name, miss? Sabrina. Let's say Sabrina brought her pet hamster tonight. And she has him hiding in her dress pocket. I don't even know if you have a pocket. Let's pretend you do. So he sticks his tongue out, pulls it back in. Hamster. There's a hamster in here. Now, which side of his tongue was closer to Sabrina and her hamster? The right side or the left side? The left side. So the left side has a teeny tiny bit more hamster smell on it. And so the snake's like, aha, hamster's that one. So the next time maybe he swings his tongue over here. And then he swings it over there, and he swings it up here, and he swings it down here, and eventually he does this. Aha! And points it right straight at that hamster hiding in Sabrina's pocket. Pulls his tongue back in. Same amount of hamster smell on both sides of my tongue. Hamster's over there. And he knows which way to go. He can smell what direction something is in. As I'm walking around, he flips his tongue all over the place. He's smelling where everything is in the room. Snakes don't have great eyesight. Nothing like what we can see. His sense of smell is a much better sense for him, especially when you think he can smell where you guys all are. And he can tell you all apart. He has a better sense of smell than most dogs. With his tongue. That's kind of a cool superpower, huh? No, it's not cool. Can you do it? Ah! Do you have a question, Miss? Do you have something you're trying to say?
Well, I'll say it first. What does an anaconda mean?
An anaconda? Anything it wants. Yeah. No, an anaconda is one of the largest. It's actually, if you go by weight, it's the largest snake in the world. They can grow to be over 30 feet. They're like that big around. I mean, they're monstrous snakes. They eat capybaras that are like 50-pound guinea pigs. They eat goats. Every once in a while, an anaconda grabs somebody, eats a person. That's actually kind of the bummer about the giant constrictors. You know, I mentioned a snake can swallow something 4 times the size of its head. When the head gets about this big, the multiplier really starts to go up. So a snake with a head the size of my hand can swallow me. The multiplier goes up beyond that 4. So you're looking at these, 20-foot long Burmese pythons, 30-foot long anacondas. Those snakes can eat you. Do we have a lot of those running around Sellis Falls? No, no problem. We're safe from them. We shouldn't have any in North America. We have a lot of them now in the Everglades. There's a lot of big constrictors down in Florida, eating alligators and deer and really anything they want. Yeah.
How long is that?
How long is this snake? Here, can you help me? Come here. Can you hold this end for me? Okay, don't wait. Hold on. Okay. He's about that long. 4 feet or so, right? And you see what he was trying to do with his tail? He was trying to get a hold of her arm. So he'll do it to me here. He's a good tree snake, so he knows how to do a safety line, so he doesn't fall out of the tree. He doesn't hold on real well that time. Can all snakes climb trees? Yes-ish. Some a lot better than others. Black rat snakes will go right up into the trees looking for birds' nests, actually. They eat a lot of eggs and eat a lot of little birds. So they're really good at it. Whereas something like a rattlesnake, actually, is not very good at climbing trees. They can do it, but they're not very good at it. That's another thing that I think makes people not like snakes very much. They swim, they climb trees, they scoot across the floor, they have no feet. It's just weird. A little wrong, right? No? You guys are okay with that? Okay. There we go. Now the snake and our next hero, Miss Out of Breath, have something in common. They both draw their incredible powers from the limitless power of the sun. I just like yelling. Little over the top, maybe, but being cold-blooded, like a snake or a wood turtle, means that your energy comes from your surroundings. If this wood turtle were to eat 10 M&Ms, and you were to eat 10 M&Ms, 8 of yours would go to keeping your body warm. 8 of hers would go to getting bigger. The other 2, she'd pretty much just poop those out. When a reptile eats, it's eating for growth and it's eating for vitamins and minerals. If they don't really need to grow, if they don't need those vitamins and minerals, all they need to do is sit in the sun. They're solar powered. And the warmer it is, the better they do, to a point. That's why actually in the morning, if you go down by the river or the lake, you might see turtles sitting out in the sun early in the morning. And they're right out there in the sun. It's kind of chilly in the morning. They're absorbing that sun, they're heating up. But by the afternoon, when it's really hot, they're not there anymore. It got too hot, they dove into the water to cool off. They have to move to control their temperature. And there's just one crazy cold-blooded thing, and then we'll get your questions, okay guys? Girls? Okay. So, like back in the 50s, this scientist did all these animal intelligence tests. And one of the animals he tested was the wood turtle. And a wood turtle scored about as well as a rat. Recently, some reptile people, reptile nuts you might say, have been kind of complaining about those intelligence tests because he did them at room temperature. And they say it wasn't fair to the reptiles. So they've started redoing these tests at 80 degrees, 90 degrees, cranking the heat up. And they've had some weird things happen. There was a tortoise that they dropped in the middle of a round maze. You guys have seen those round mazes? You start in the middle, you try to get out to the edge, right? So they dropped the turtle in the middle, and she did really good. She did as well, if not better than the rat at solving the maze. And they're like, wow, I bet she's cheating. She's looking up and saying, aha, there's the exit sign. There's the, all right, now I can maneuver based on that. So they put a wall all the way around the maze, so she couldn't see anything. And so she goes in, and she goes out to the end, up dead. She goes back to the middle. She goes to the next turn. Goes out, up, dead end. Goes back to the middle. Goes to the next turn. Do you guys see what we're getting here? I don't know how, what if taken me a while to figure out that was the best way to solve the maze. And the turtle systematically solved the maze. A turtle did that. I hope they test the wood turtle so I can say she's smarter than a rat. But with the information I have now, she's not as smart as a rat, it's great in the summertime because you get all that energy. You're running in full gear, high speed, your brain, everything works great. But then it gets cold again. Winter comes. And that's where the wood turtle's superpower, we're going to talk about right now, comes into play. She can't freeze. She's not a wood frog, right? She doesn't have that superpower. She won't survive freezing. She goes to the pond with bullfrogs. She'll dive down to the bottom of the pond. And the weird thing about water is the bottom of the pond will stay at about 34 to 35 degrees all winter long. That's actually the temperature where water is heaviest. I know that sounds weird, we'll just move on. So at that temperature, it's 34 degrees. No, this is a wood turtle. Snapping turtles have no armor. So, we're just going to pay. So at that temperature, this turtle is pretty much off. She's not burning any energy. She's not really doing much. So she can sit in the bottom of that pond and you were playing one like this? Oh, another show. Yeah, that's another one. So there she is in the bottom of the pond, almost kind of off. There's still going to be a big problem, right? A frog can absorb oxygen from the water through its skin. A turtle's covered in scales. She can't do that. So she's at the bottom of the pond, there's no air. She can't absorb it through her skin. She needs something else. And the crazy thing she does, okay, photo up. I'll come back. So where were we? So she can't absorb the oxygen through her skin. So she'll sink to the bottom of the pond, and she'll open her mouth. And the water will flood into her throat. And in the lining of her throat, like inside her throat, she can absorb oxygen out of the water, kind of like the way a fish does with its gills. Almost enough to survive. If she wants to be able to stay underwater for months and months, all winter long, she needs more air than she can get through her throat. So she opens up the other end. And water goes up into her intestines, and a turtle breathes through its butt. Yeah. Science fact for all of you to take home today. Our freshwater turtles breathe through their butt all winter long. You're all laughing. Can you do that? I can't do that. That's pretty cool. But that allows this turtle to survive the winter. And then when spring comes, and that water starts to warm up, her body starts to speed up again. She needs more air. She's warming up. She's too warm. She needs more air. But no problem. Because if the bottom of the pond is warmer, everything above it has to be. So she swims up, no more ice. She's ready to sit on a log and soak up some sun and use her amazing turtle superpowers. Now, what other powers does a turtle have? They're actually more famous than breathing through their butt. What do you think?
Shell.
Her shell, yeah. And turtle shells are pretty good armor. She can pull her head in there, pulls her legs in. She's got these little shin guards to protect her face. Come on, put your feet in there. And then, oh, hold on. Then she gets the back end in there. So what she does, she pulls her head in. She pulls in her front feet. She's got little shin guard things, right? Then she gets her back feet in. Okay, so this one's broken. But you guys get the idea, right? I guess she's not very afraid, huh? I actually think she's getting a little sick of that, to tell you the truth. She keeps giving me these looks. Like right now, she's doing it. But wood turtles are a really cool turtle. And you can find these, especially all through the Connecticut River Valley we have them. They're not as common as they used to be. They do something kind of foolish for a turtle, really. They don't stay in the water. If they stayed in the water like a snapping turtle or a painted turtle, they'd be safe. But they don't. They go up and they run around and they have adventures, which means they run into a lot more of us. And they cross the road a lot more than the other turtles have to. Wood turtles are actually a species of special concern in Vermont. They're a turtle that is disappearing from our state. And most of it isn't just getting hit by cars, but it's by people picking them up and taking them home. Because sometimes the wild ones act like this one's acting right now. You know, you're walking along, oh look, oh it's a friendly little turtle, Billy will love this. Right? It's a bummer, but it actually is one of the biggest threats these guys have. They're illegal to have in pets in Vermont. This one is a pet that was seized by Fish and Wildlife. We just got another one that was a pet that was surrendered to Fish and Wildlife. In Massachusetts, they had an area where they were studying wood turtles. They opened up hiking trails in that area, and in 5 years, wood turtles dropped by 70%. Almost disappeared in just 5 years. They're great again. I mean, do you guys like seeing this turtle? Wouldn't it be crazy though if you were out like fishing or swimming and you saw one come walking along? Wouldn't that be better? It's awesome. It's cool stuff to see in the real world. Oh yeah. We're almost done.
She answered.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Go ahead. What was your question?
Had her hand up for.
No, I'm sorry. She did. Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead. How old is the turtle? I actually know the answer to that. We had some turtle experts look at her. So actually, two different people on 2 different days, and they both said she was about 35 years old. And you can't tell that by counting the rings in the shell or anything like that. They actually looked at her belly and how worn her belly was, is what they looked at. Any other questions? I know I told you guys to ask questions and I haven't been taking them. Yes, ma'am.
Does that turtle you have on the bite if somebody stuck their finger or touched its tail?
She hasn't yet. She could, but she hasn't yet. The question was, would that turtle bite if you stuck your hand in her face? She hasn't bit anybody yet. She's actually agreed to it. Yes, ma'am. This turtle should live into her 60s. The record-breaking turtles, there's some tortoises that have lived for over 200 years. Our box turtle that we might have in southern Vermont, they can live for over 150 years. You guys know what the oldest animal is, though? The oldest animal? It's not a turtle.
Blue whale?
Not a blue, well, it might be a blue whale, actually. They've got some arguments about that. Officially, it's a clam that lived over 500 years. Is that insane? Clam. What do you do for 500 years when you're a clam? That's a slow 500 years. And you had a question too, man. Sure. Yeah. Now, salmonella with wild turtles, much less likely than salmonella with captive turtles. Now, if you guys don't know what she's talking about, salmonella is a bacteria that's everywhere. It's all around us. When it gets to high levels, it can make you really, really sick. Most people who encounter salmonella get it through food. A very small fraction of people who get salmonella get it from animals. Most of them get it from cats or chickens. Some of them get it from reptiles. And with the reptiles, it's usually animals that are kept in really unsanitary conditions. Like when they used to they used to sell baby turtles like in salad bowls on the side of the street. Imagine if you lived in that salad bowl with 50 baby turtles for a few weeks. How nasty would it be in that salad bowl? Yeah, and then somebody gets that and boop. It's illegal to sell turtles in the U.S. that are less than 4 inches long, and part of that is because you can't get it in your mouth. Because, that's the first thing. And then sometimes people, like water turtles, like someone that has a pet right here sliding, water turtles, I personally think, are a terrible choice if you feel you need a pet turtle, because they're in the water all the time. And it's it's like living in a toilet, really. Unless you have a giant filtration system or you're cleaning it out every single day, it's going to be a nasty environment. Not this turtle. We had a wood turtle that was brought to the museum, but then the state released. Actually, the police were busting into the apartment for other reasons, and there was a tank full of muddy water. Just brown, nasty water, and somebody figured out there was a turtle in there and pulled it out. And it was a wood turtle. So the state ended up releasing that turtle. But that's the kind of environment some of these animals live in. So yeah, you're going to get sick if you play with that. They could, yeah, they could. It would be though, just like any other bacterial infection. And I see what you're getting at, and I was going to say this at some point. If you have touched anything weird today,